I was in a group one time of drug addicts and alcoholics. And I was one of the people that was a sponsor and leading this group. And the sign on the wall said, "There are no justified resentments in this group." And what I said to that group that night was, no matter what anybody says to you here, no matter what kind of anger comes directed towards you, no matter how much hate you may encounter showing up in your life, there are no justified resentments. Meaning that if you carry around resentment inside of you about anything or about anyone, and I'm talking about the person that you lent money to and hasn't paid you back, I'm talking about the person in your life that you feel was abusive, I'm talking about the person who walked out on you and left you for somebody else, I'm talking about all of the things that you have justified in your heart and in your life that you have the right to be resentful about. And I'm suggesting to you that those resentments will always end up harming you and creating in you a sense of despair. I've often said that no one ever dies from a snake bite. The snake bite will never kill you. You cannot be unbitten. Once you're bitten, you're bitten. But it's the venom that continues to pour through your system after the bite that will end up destroying you. So now you have to take a look at all of the resentments that you may have in your life. And I'd like to suggest to you that I think there is a wonderful metaphor for this that I have created in my life for how to make this work. There's a show called Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? And basically this show has two levels that you have to get to. Now the first level is the $1,000 level. And at the $1,000 level, you basically have to answer a question like, on your hand, you have some digits. Those digits on your hand are called your feet, your nose, your ears, your fingers. And everybody who ever goes on the show has this horrible dread that they're going to go out on one of those questions, right? So basically, in order to get to the $1,000 level, all you have to do is answer 5 pretty simple questions in order to get to the $1,000 level. Now, the $1,000 level for you in this metaphor means that you will leave with something if you get this. At least get this. This is the $1,000 level. You must send blame out of your life for any conditions of your life. Blame has to go. All right? Now, blame means if you're sitting there with a disease, you say without guilt, it's mine, I take responsibility for it. This means that if you have been through any tough circumstances in your life, this means if you have a minimal amount of financial security in your life, this means if your children don't get along with you, this means that if your neighbors are taking up a petition to get you out of the neighborhood, whatever it might be that's going on in your life, you name it, and everybody has a series of these things that you're willing to say, I am here because of the choices that I have made right now. I'm willing to say that. Even though it's difficult, and we know it's really not your fault. We know really there's a lot of people out there who are really bad, all right? But you're willing to say no blame. That's the first level, all right? That's where you understand no justified resentment. And then on the Who Wants to Be a Millionaire show, there is what is called the $32,000 level. And the $32,000 level is not only an opportunity for you to walk away with a sizable amount of goodies, but it also is the door opener to multi-wealth. But you got to get to this in order to have an opportunity to move into these transcendent levels, all right? Millionaire spiritual status, all right? You got to get through these next 5 questions. And this $32,000 question, or level rather, comes to this. It came to me from a quotation that I used in the writing of A Spiritual Solution to Every Problem. I read a book that was written a couple of thousand years ago by Patanjali, the Yoga Sutras, the aphorisms of Patanjali. And one of those sutras, one of those aphorisms, observations that this brilliant man made almost 2,000 years ago was this. He said, if you become steadfast in your abstentions of thoughts of harm directed towards others, all living creatures will cease to feel enmity in your presence. Now this translates to blame, pretty basic, no more blame. I'm just not going to assign responsibility to other people for where I am, because now I have an opportunity to get rid of it. If I think someone else caused it, then I've got to wait for somebody else to change in order for me to get rid of it, and you might wait forever for that. But if I take responsibility for it, I can do something, including move on, which might be the most important thing to do. All right? But at the higher level, when there are no justified resentments, what you are doing is you are at a place where you are sending love in response to hate. You are literally saying, no matter what comes my way, I am going to be steadfast in my abstention of thoughts of harm directed toward others. I'm going to work hard at, no matter what comes my way, having it come out of me what I want to come out of me, and that is love, and that is a higher energy. And if you can get to that level, Patanjali said, all living creatures will cease to feel enmity in your presence. I have a little girl, a precious little girl. I have 6 precious girls and 2 precious sons, but I have a little girl who is almost 12. And she loves animals like no one I've ever met in my life. I mean, her whole life revolves around animals. And when we walk in the woods, butterflies avoid me, fly away from people around, and they come and they land right on her arm, and it happens all the time. All living creatures, she couldn't have a thought of harm directed towards any living creature, and Patanjali said to us, all living creatures will cease to feel fear or enmity or anger in the presence of those who can send love in response to hate. That's what I mean when I say there are no justified resentments. What I'd like to do, I'd like to share a little story here with you. It's a very tender story. It was sent to me by someone who sends me beautiful things in the mail. And I call it the Teddy story. And I'd like to read this to you, if I can do it without tearing up. And this story illustrates this as well as anything I've ever seen. There's a story many years ago of an elementary school teacher. Her name was Mrs. Thompson. As she stood in front of her 5th grade class on the very first day of school, she told the children a lie. Like most teachers, she looked at her students and said that she loved them all the same. But that was impossible, because there in the front row, slumped in his seat, was a little boy named Teddy Stoddard. Mrs. Thompson had watched Teddy the year before and noticed that he didn't play well with the other children, that his clothes were messy, and that he constantly needed a bath. Teddy could be unpleasant. It got to the point where Mrs. Thompson would actually take delight in marking his papers with a broad red pen and making bold X's and then putting a big F at the top of his papers. At the school where Mrs. Thompson taught, she was required to review each child's past records, and she put Teddy's off until last. However, when she reviewed his file, she was in for a surprise. Teddy's 1st grade teacher wrote, "Teddy is a bright child with a ready laugh. He does his work neatly and he has good manners. He's a joy to be around." His 2nd grade teacher wrote, "Teddy's an excellent student, well liked by his classmates, but he's troubled because his mother has a terminal illness and life at home must be a struggle." His 3rd grade teacher wrote, "His mother's death has been hard on him. He tries to do his best, but his father doesn't show much interest, and his home life will soon affect him if steps aren't taken." Teddy's 4th grade teacher wrote, "Teddy's withdrawn and doesn't show up much interest in school. He doesn't have many friends, and sometimes he even sleeps in class. By now, Mrs. Thompson realized the problem, and she was ashamed of herself. She felt even worse when her students brought her Christmas presents wrapped in beautiful ribbons and bright paper, except for Teddy's. His present was clumsily wrapped in heavy brown paper that he got from the grocery bag. Mrs. Thompson took pains to open it in the middle of the other presents. Some of the children started to laugh when she found a rhinestone bracelet with some of the stones missing and a bottle that was 1/4 full of perfume. But she stifled her children's laughter when she exclaimed how pretty the bracelet was, putting it on and dabbing some of the perfume on her wrist. Teddy Stoddard stayed after school that day just long enough to say, "Mrs. Thompson, today you smell just like my mom used to." After the children left, she cried for at least an hour. On the very day, she quit teaching reading, writing, and arithmetic, and instead, she began to teach children. Mrs. Thompson paid particular attention to Teddy. As she worked with him and his mind seemed to come alive, the more she encouraged him, the faster he responded. By the end of the year, Teddy had become one of the smartest children in the class, and despite her lie, became one of her teacher's pets. A year later, she found a note under the door from Teddy telling her that she was still the best teacher he ever had in his whole life. 6 years went by before she got another note from Teddy. He then wrote that he had finished high school 3rd in his class, and she was still the best teacher he ever had in his whole life. 4 years after that, she got another letter saying that while things had been tough at times, he stayed in school and stuck with it, and would soon graduate from college with the highest of honors. He assured Mrs. Thompson that she was still the very best and favorite teacher he ever had in his whole life. Then 4 more years passed, and yet another letter came. This time he explained that after he got his bachelor's degree, he decided to go a little further. The letter explained that she was still the best and favorite teacher he ever had, but now his name was a little longer. The letter was signed Theodore F. Stoddard, M.D. But the story doesn't end there. You see, there was yet another letter that spring. Teddy said he'd met this girl and was going to be married. He explained that his father had died a couple of years ago, and he was wondering if Mrs. Thompson might agree to sit in the place at the wedding that was usually reserved for the mother of the groom. Of course, Mrs. Thompson did, and guess what? She wore that bracelet, the one with the several rhinestones missing, and she made sure she was wearing the perfume that Teddy remembered his mother wearing on their last Christmas together. They hugged each other, and Dr. Stoddard whispered in Mrs. Thompson's ear, "Thank you so much for making me feel important and showing me that I could make a difference." Mrs. Thompson came with tears in her eyes and whispered back, "Teddy, you have it all wrong. You were the one who taught me that I could make a difference. I didn't know how to teach until I met you." Isn't that a beautiful story? That symbolizes there are no justified resentments. Work at reaching that $32,000 level, the place where the only thing you have to send is love, because that's what's inside. And that's the message of our greatest spiritual teachers. That's all they ever had to give away. This is not a suggestion, it is law. It is the hidden code of creation itself. You have been told to ask, but how do you ask the universe in a way that compels it to respond swiftly, precisely, and powerfully? You ask with knowing, not with desperation, not with fear, not with begging, but with calm, confident stillness. You say, "It is done," not, "Can I have it?" not,
Will you give it to me someday? You say, it is already mine. The secret is this: the universe does not hear your words. It hears your state. It reads your being. When you ask, you must become the one who already has. You must clothe yourself in the feeling of the wish fulfilled. You must sit in the silence and walk in your imagination as though what you ask for is already yours. This is not imagination for fantasy's sake. This is creation, divine creation. If you desire love, feel love now. If you desire wealth, walk as one who is already rich in mind. If you desire freedom, move in this world with the confidence of the liberated. Do not wait to see it before you believe it. Believe it and you will surely see it. Ask the universe like this: show me what it feels like to be whole. Show me what it feels like to be chosen. Show me what it feels like to be powerful, prosperous, and overflowing with joy. And when you ask this way with conviction, the universe will not hesitate. It is bound by law to reflect your inner world. You are not asking something outside yourself. You are awakening something within. All things exist. All realities are now. What you seek is already done. Your only task is to shift your awareness, to change the channel, to occupy the state. You do not beg the universe. You declare boldly. The moment you drop to your knees in desperate plea, you proclaim to the unseen world that you are separate from your desire. And so the law, impartial and perfect, reflects back to you more of that separation. The universe is not moved by desperation, nor does it respond to lack. It echoes your inner conviction, your state of being. Therefore, when you ask, you must not plead, must assume. Assumption is not wishful thinking. It is not a fleeting hope. Assumption is a knowing, an inner certainty that what you have imagined is already yours. It is the spiritual posture of possession. When you declare a thing boldly, when you rise in the stillness of your own soul and say, "It is done," you are aligning with the very nature of creation. All things come to those who already have in consciousness. This is the hidden key the world has missed. People cry out in pain, asking for change, ask for signs, asking for help. Yet they do so while identifying themselves with the very absence of what they desire. They pray for love while feeling unlovable. They ask for wealth while identifying as poor. They plead for healing while wrapping themselves in the cloak of sickness. And then they wonder why the universe is silent. But hear this truth. The moment you assume the feeling of already having, the universe begins to reorganize itself to reflect that assumption. This is not magic, it is law. The law of consciousness is absolute. What you believe yourself to be inwardly, you will see reflected outwardly. The world is but a mirror and it does not lie. It shows you what you believe, not what you want. Speak as one who has already received. When you ask, do so with authority, with a quiet confidence that does not flinch when the physical world shows the opposite. That is the test. Can you persist in the feeling of fulfillment even while the senses scream lack? Can you maintain the assumption when there is no evidence except your inner knowing? This is the difference between those who manifest quickly and those who wait endlessly. The former knows that the invisible is more real than the visible. They know that reality begins in the imagination. They know that every outer circumstance is only the shadow of a deeper inner truth, so they do not react. They do not beg. They decide. And in deciding, they align with the nature of the divine. Creation is finished. All that you could ever desire already exists, not in some distant place or future, but now in the invisible realm of spirit. The door is imagination and the key is assumption. Walk through boldly. Assume the state of the one who already has, and the world will conform. The moment you say, I am, you create. Say, I am prosperous. Say, I am loved. Say, I am whole. And then feel it. Not from the lips, but from the heart. You will know when it's real because you'll feel the peace of possession. You'll stop seeking because you've already found it within. This is how the universe works. It answers your assumption, not your voice. It delivers what you believe, not what you beg for. So ask, but ask as one who knows. Declare boldly and do not waver. In that state of quiet confidence, all things shall be added unto you. The only true prayer is feeling, not the words you speak, not the rituals you follow, not the length of your request. It is the feeling that carries the power. You may speak the most eloquent phrases, recite sacred texts, or repeat affirmations 1,000 times. But if your inner state contradicts your words, nothing changes. The universe does not respond to your mouth. It responds to your soul. And your soul speaks in feeling. Feeling is the secret doorway to manifestation. It is the bridge between the invisible and the visible, the internal and the external. When your feeling matches the reality you desire, you collapse the space between imagination and fact. The world around you begins to bend, shift, and rearrange to reflect the truth you hold within. This is why people can speak constantly of success and yet remain in lack, because their inner feeling whispers doubt. They say they believe, but they feel fear. And it is the feeling, not the words, that the universe obeys. The law is impersonal, unchanging, and absolute. If you feel lack, even while saying, "I am rich," you will experience more lack. If you feel unworthy, even while declaring, "I am loved," you will continue to live out the echo of rejection. But if you drop every word and sink into the quiet certainty of fulfillment, if you can feel rich, whole, and loved now, you are in alignment with the end. And the end always creates the means. This is why silence is often more powerful than speech. In the silence, you can enter the stillness of your own being and ask not with your mouth, but with your heart. You close your eyes, breathe deep, and imagine the thing you desire not as a distant hope, but as a present reality. You feel the weight of it, the warmth of it, the joy of it. And in that sacred moment, you become one with your desire. That is prayer. That is creation. Do not be fooled by appearances. Do not wait for the outer world to give you permission to feel the inner reality. It is not, "I will feel successful when I have success." It is, "I feel successful now, and therefore success comes." The cause is always internal. The effect follows. Train yourself to feel your prayer before it is visible. Train yourself to move past the noise of doubt and sink into the stillness of knowing. Your feeling is the signal. It is the vibration you send out into the field of infinite potential, and it always returns in form. The outer world is your mirror. It reflects not your words, but your dominant emotional state. So when you pray, do not worry about the right phrases. Do not fret over whether you are saying it correctly. Go deeper. Ask yourself, how would I feel if it were already done? And then feel it. Stay there. Live there. That is the true prayer. That is the moment creation begins. And once you have touched that feeling, hold it, nurture it. Walk through the world not as one who is seeking, but as one who has already received. Because in truth, once you've felt it, once you've become it within, it is already yours. The outer must obey the inner, always. Imagination is the sacred temple of creation. It is not a place of idle dreams or fleeting fantasies. It is the workshop of reality, the holy ground where the invisible becomes visible. All things begin first in the imagination. Every building, every invention, every movement, every transformation in your life was first conceived as a thought, felt as a possibility, and then shaped into form. When you understand the power of your imagination, you understand the power of creation itself. What you vividly imagine and feel as real will harden into fact. This is not a poetic suggestion, it is a law. The imagination, fused with feeling, becomes the architect of your world. Whatever you accept as true in your inner world, whatever you see clearly and emotionally experience as done, will move into form. It must. The outer world cannot help but reflect the inner state. Imagination is not just a private escape. It is the divine tool you were given to shape the course of your life. But most people misuse this gift. They imagine worst-case scenarios. They rehearse failure. They picture rejection, conflict, poverty, loss. and because they do so with strong emotion. Those things become their experience. They think the imagination is just daydreaming, unaware that they are planting seeds that will grow into reality. You cannot imagine consistently with dread and expect joy. You cannot feel unworthy in your vision and expect to be treated with value. Your world responds not to what you want, but to what you imagine and feel as true. To use imagination rightly is to become deliberate in your vision. It is to quiet the senses and enter the state where you see and feel from the end. You do not simply see the thing you desire. You see yourself in the experience of it. You feel it as if it is happening now. You do not wish for change. You assume it has already occurred. This is the sacred act. This is true worship. To sit silently and feel the reality of your desired state, to become it inwardly, and to know that this inner transformation must find its counterpart in the world around you. You do not need to know how it will come. You do not need to manipulate the outer world. You only need to persist in the assumption of your imagined reality. Remain faithful to it. Return to it often. Let it live in you. The longer you dwell in that state, the more naturally your outer world will conform to it. The universe reorders itself around the dominant imagery of your inner being. What you accept as true within, you will live without. This is why imagination must be sacred. You must protect it from fear, from doubt, from the pollution of other people's limitations. Guard your mind as you would guard a precious temple, for within it lives the power to transfer area of your life. You are not subject to the world. The world is subject to your inner vision. The moment you feel something real in imagination, you have already created it. It is finished. You need only walk through the bridge of incidents that will carry you there. You will be led, people will appear, opportunities will rise, doors will open, not because you chase them, but because you align with them inwardly. Imagination fused with feeling is the divine language of creation. Use it not to escape, but to design, not to wish, but to become. Stand in your mind's eye as the person you desire to be. Feel the joy, the relief, the gratitude of having it now. That is the sacred moment. That is creation. And the world will respond, as it always does, to the vision you have dared to believe. Your inner conversations shape your world. Every moment, whether you realize it or not, you are engaged in a silent dialogue with yourself. These thoughts are not idle. They are not private musings that vanish into nothingness. They are the seeds of your reality. The way you speak to yourself, the tone you use, the assumptions you carry within your internal dialogue, these become the blueprint for your outer experience. The world you see is the echo of what you say inwardly, repeated again and again. You may speak kindly to others, smile on the outside, and say all the right things in public. But if your inner conversation is one of self-doubt, fear, or unworthiness, that is what will manifest. The universe does not respond to appearances, does not hear your voice. It hears your belief. And belief is formed by repetition. Belief is carved through the steady rhythm of inner speech. The dialogue that runs through your mind day and night becomes the script your life follows. You cannot say to yourself, "I'll never succeed," and then expect to succeed. You cannot entertain thoughts of failure and then wonder why doors don't open. It is not punishment, it is reflection. The law of consciousness works perfectly. Whatever you accept and rehearse inwardly is impressed upon your subconscious and then expressed in the world. Life is always listening to what you say when no one else can hear you. This is why you must become aware. Watch the dialogue within. It is always creating. Begin to notice the tone of your self-talk. Are you encouraging or critical? Do you speak with faith or fear? Are you imagining the best or anticipating the worst? These are not harmless musings, they are creative acts. They are invitations to the universe to send you more of the same. You must become the master of your inner world, not through force, but through awareness. The moment you catch yourself speaking limitations, stop. Do not school yourself, simply revise it. If you hear yourself say, "Nothing ever works out for me," gently replace it with, "Everything is working out in my favor." Say it until it feels natural. Say it until it becomes familiar. Say it until it becomes true in your world. Your mind is pliable. It will believe what you consistently affirm. You can teach it to speak the language of victory. You can train it to repeat what is noble, powerful, and uplifting. And once your inner world changes, your outer world will follow. This is not hopeful thinking, it is spiritual law. The greatest changes in life happen not when the world shifts, but when your self-talk does. When you begin to speak to yourself as one who is worthy, loved, capable, and favored, you begin to live that truth. Opportunities arise, relationships improve, confidence grows, not because the world suddenly got better, but because you became better inwardly. The world has no choice but to mirror your transformation. Your imagination is the stage, your inner words are the script, and your life is the performance. Speak deliberately. Let every word you say within be one of power and truth. Do not wait for external change to speak differently. Speak differently and the change will come. You are always creating. Even in silence, you are shaping. Choose your words well. Let your inner dialogue be the voice of the version of you that already has what you desire. Speak as the healed, the loved, the successful, the abundant. Speak with faith, with joy, with conviction. And when you do, the world will rise to meet you in that same frequency. First, for the outer is nothing but the projection of the inner. Change your inner conversation and you change your life. Time is an illusion. Manifestation happens now. The mind, conditioned by the senses, believes that things unfold in a linear sequence, past, present, and future. Both lies deeper. In the realm of consciousness, all things exist now. What you call the future is not ahead of you. It is here, existing in the unseen, waiting for you to recognize it, claim it, and bring it forth into form. You do not manifest by waiting. You manifest by aligning. There is only one moment, and it is always now. When you imagine something happening, and you feel the truth of it deeply within you, you collapse the illusion of time. You are not hoping for something later. You are experiencing it now in consciousness, and that now becomes the seed of the physical reality to come. If you keep projecting your desire into the future, saying someday or when you push it away, you are telling your subconscious that it does not yet exist. But the moment you dwell in it emotionally, the moment you feel it as already done, you bring it into your present awareness. And what is felt as real will be made real. Everything is already finished. Creation is complete. You are not bringing something new into existence. You are selecting from infinite realities the one you choose to occupy, that version of you who already has the love, the wealth, the peace, the freedom. It exists now. You don't have to earn it or find it. You must identify with it. Step into it. Feel the truth of it. Live in that version of you inwardly. This is how you call it from the invisible to the visible. Most people wait to feel the joy until the thing comes. They say, when I have the money, I'll feel secure. When I have the relationship, I'll feel love. When I succeed, I'll feel worthy. But that is reversed. You must feel the security first. You must feel the love now. You must feel the worthiness before the evidence appears. This is not deception. This is alignment. This is living by the Spirit, not by the senses. The senses will always confirm what is, but imagination reveals what can be, and feeling makes it so. Time is illusion, then you must withdraw your attention from the calendar, the clock, the waiting. You must understand that the only thing separating you from your desire is your own belief that is not here. The moment you release that belief, the moment you move into the feeling that it is here, you begin to witness bridges of events that bring it into view, not because you chased it, but because you became one with it. This mental trick has no optimal step. Be born, awake, be bounded, be calm, be mindful. Let this be your practice. Sit in stillness, close your eyes, and enter the scene where your desire is fulfilled. Make it vivid, make it rich. Hear the sounds, see the details, but above all, feel the emotion. Feel the gratitude, the relief, the joy of it being yours now, not tomorrow, not next week now. You must embody the frequency of that fulfilled state. You cannot remain as the one who is waiting, doubting, hoping, and expect the reality of success, love, or abundance to come to you. You must shift into the state where you are no longer seeking it. You are living it inwardly and emotionally. This is the sacred art of aligning not with effort, but with identity. If you desire peace, become peaceful. If you desire love, become loving. If you desire wealth, become the one who already knows what it feels like to be secure, provided for, and free. This inner shift is the true work of manifestation. When you stop chasing the thing and instead embody the state, the thing must come. It has no choice, it is law. Many believe they can fake this process, pretending on the surface, while deep inside still feeling separate from their desire. But the universe is not fooled by appearances. It does not respond to words or performance. It responds to vibration, your emotion, your assumptions, your felt reality. That is why becoming is so powerful. You are not trying to get something, you are returning to the version of you where that something already exists. This version of you is not imaginary, it is real. It lives in the unseen, in the infinite field of possibility. And the more you dwell in that state, through imagination, through feeling, through repetition, the more it crystallizes into form. You do not need to push or control anything. The outer world organizes itself to reflect the change within you. It is not your effort that moves mountains, it is your being. So ask yourself, who would I be if I already had what I desire? How would I think? How would I walk? What would I feel day to day, moment to moment? That version of you is the key. Begin to step into that role as you would a well-worn coat. Let it feel natural. Let it feel familiar. Rehearse it in your mind, not once or twice, but until it becomes second nature. The more you become it, the faster the outer world confirms it. This is why some manifest quickly and others not at all. Those who receive swiftly have made no gap between who they are and what they desire. They walk in the state as if it were already true. They do not question it. They do not look for signs or ask when it will arrive. They live it now. And because they live it, they draw it in effortlessly. You are not separate from your dream. You are not lacking. You are not waiting. The moment you decide to be the one who has, life must respond in kind. Everything shifts around the one who has shifted within. That is how the unseen becomes seen. That is how desires become reality, not by hoping, but by being. Yeah. You are not here to beg the universe. You are here to remember that you are the universe in motion. Your every assumption, your every feeling, your every inner word is creating. Not tomorrow, not someday, but now. You were never meant to chase your dreams. You were meant to become the version of you who already lives them. When you understand this truth, you stop reaching outward and begin turning inward. You no longer wait, you embody. You no longer plead, you declare. Your imagination becomes your sanctuary. Your feelings become your prayer. And your world becomes the mirror of your awakened state. So ask the universe, not with desperation, but with conviction. Not with fear, but with fullness. Become the one who already has, and the world will bow in reflection. Because the moment you shift your being, the universe shifts with you.